H.R. 223, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Act of 2015. I ask unanimous consent to discharge the Water Resources Subcommittee and call up H.R. 223, and that it be considered read and open amendment at any point. Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered. I recognize Subcommittee Chairman Gibbs to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the committee marking up H.R. 223, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Act of 2015, a bill introduced by my Ohio colleague, Dave Joyce. The Great Lakes are an important resource for the United States. More than 30 million people live in the Great Lakes region, and the lakes help support over $200 billion in a year in economic activity. A Great Lakes Interagency Task Force of federal agencies was created in 2004 by executive order to help ensure coordination between federal, state, and private parties protecting and restoring the Great Lakes. In 2010, the task force released an action plan as part of the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative to accelerate efforts to protect and restore the Great Lakes. In September of 2014, the federal agencies released an updated Action Plan 2, which summarizes the actions that the federal agencies plan to implement during fiscal years 15 and through 2019. The Action Plan aims to strategically target the biggest threats to the Great Lakes ecosystem and to accelerate progress toward long-term goals. Congressman Joyce introduced H.R. 223 to formally authorize the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative for 5 years and to carry out projects and activities for the Great Lakes protection and restoration. Under the initiative, the Environmental Protection Agency collaborates with other federal partners, including the Great Lakes Interagency Task Force, to select the best combination of projects and activities for Great Lakes protection and restoration. This legislation has been the result of an exhaustive and rigorous oversight process. During the development of this legislation, we took years. My subcommittee held multiple hearings, requested and received multiple GAO studies, and held dozens of meetings with stakeholders and agency officials on the GLRI program. This oversight process should be a model of how Congress authorizes EPA regional programs moving forward. At the appropriate time, I intend to offer a technical and clarifying amendment to modify the legislation. This amendment reflects the input we received from numerous hearings, stakeholders, GAO reports, and other oversight activities. Upon adoption of that amendment, I would encourage members to support H.R. 223, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll recognize Mr. DeFazio for a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Great Lakes are an invaluable resource, and we are seeing troubling signs of pollution, particularly the algal blooms that caused Toledo to have to shut down its water supply system. This legislation will help better coordinate federal agencies, federal efforts to partner with the states and ultimately potentially with Canada in improving and protecting the water quality and the assets of the lakes. I would reflect that we also have some concerns on a number of areas on the West Coast, Puget Sound, the Columbia River, San Francisco Bay, and then also some members have indicated concerns about Long Island Sound, and I would hope that the subcommittee can hold hearings on these introduced resolutions so we can begin the same sort of assiduous work that went into producing this resolution, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. We certainly are open to it, and we'll work with Subcommittee Gibbs and myself and get our staffs together to move forward on this. I appreciate that. Mr. Nolan is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I want to thank our good friend Mr. Gibbs for his leadership in offering this common sense, nonpartisan legislation, helping to create jobs and restore communities and bring people together, restore the Great Lakes, as well as our chairman of the full committee and the ranking member. In addition, we'd be remiss if I didn't join our good friend Mr. Gibbs in thanking Mr. David Joyce as well for his leadership to provide long-term stability as well as appropriations for the protection and restoration of our beautiful Great Lakes, which are, by the way, home to over 1.5 million jobs, more than 3,500 plants and animal species. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative has been working hard since 2010 to protect, to restore, to preserve the largest freshwater system in the world, whether it's preventing and combating the influx of invasive species, restoring polluted habitats, or cleaning up areas where significant harm has been caused by human activity, also known as areas of concern. This initiative does outstanding and immeasurable work. It has made a significant impact in the Great Lakes, in Lake Superior in particular, the world's largest freshwater body, and the communities of Duluth, Minnesota, and Superior, Wisconsin, which is also one of the areas, largest areas of concern in the Great Lakes. So with the support of the federal, the state agencies, the private sector involved, this area of concern is making incredible progress, and I want to applaud the progress the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is making, and I am proud and excited to be a part of this vital program. I urge my colleagues in the committee to support this important piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other members wish to be recognized? Seeing none, I just want to thank the Ranking Member Napolitano for her work on this issue. She's not here today, but we thank her for her efforts. Do any other members wish to be recognized? Mr. DeFazio.
Okay. No, I'm waiting for the amendment.
Mr. DeFazio withdraws. Do any other members wish to be heard? Then we now consider the bill for amendment. Is there an amendment?
Yes. Gibbs.
Mr. Gibbs is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk. I ask unanimous consent the amendment be considered as read.
Without objection, so ordered. The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 1, offered by Mr. Gibbs.
Mr. Gibbs is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment makes technical and clarifying modifications to this bill, and it's really a result in our hearing. We found out the GAO report was very positive of what the work's been done, but there was a couple things that need to be addressed, and this amendment really addresses that. And just to give a quick synopsis of that is that we need more collaboration between the federal and the state local partners, and this amendment puts language in there to ensure that the administrator designates a point person, the appropriate federal partner to coordinate with other federal partners in the Great Lakes states. And so it's really an amendment to help clarify the roles of all the partners and get more collaboration. So I urge support of the amendment.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other members wish to be recognized? Seeing none, are there amendments to the amendment? Mr. DeFazio is recognized. I'm sorry.
The manager's amendment also incorporates into this bill the language of H.R. 1923, which was sponsored by Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we've all heard about Toledo having to shut down its water supply for 3 days because of the toxic algal bloom affecting the city's water supply. That reemerged in 2015, and Representative Ryan's amendment focuses this legislation better on those particular concerns. With that, I urge support.
Thank the gentleman. Any other members wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there amendments to the amendment? Seeing none. If not, the questions on the amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Are there any other amendments? I recognize Mr.